I just want to speak the name of Jesus.
Think for a moment of that man sprawled by the roadside, bleeding, all his possessions stolen, and left to die. And he would have died if somebody hadn't helped him. We can all reach a point where we can't go further in our lives without outside help, and there's no shame in that. Trevor Hudson had a saying, "If you're stuck, go for help." Well, there are four main protagonists that come into play with this poor wretch. Each of them has a life motto, and I see a bit of each of them in myself. The first is the robber. His life motto is, "What's yours is mine." They are the takers of this world, what Jesus called the thief that breaks in to kill and steal and destroy. They just take what they want, and they don't care what damage it causes. It's bad enough to have your car taken off you by 4 thugs, which happened to my wife. But much worse when you also get beaten up like my brother-in-law. These are people who just take and they don't care. And it's not only material possessions. People can take other things. The boss at the office who knows jolly well that his secretary's married, but he still makes a move on her. He's becoming the robber. And people can take away our self-esteem, our self-confidence, our sense of safety, our very sense of the joy of life. These are the robbers of life, and you wonder how people get to be like that. Perhaps if we knew more of their background, there would be some extenuating circumstances and we could have some sympathy. But for others of them, there's no excuse, and all we can do is steer clear of them. And I want to steer clear of any hint in me of what's yours is mine. And then there was the priest. His motto was, "What's mine is mine. I've worked jolly hard for what I've got, and I don't want to go squandering it on people who make bad life decisions and get themselves into trouble." Well, if we only help people who were not to blame for the trouble they got into, we would leave an awful lot of people strewn by the roadside. But he's well off. Now, there's nothing wrong with having money. Some people have a gift for making money. You could take it all away today and they would have made it all again in 2 years' time. It's the attitude to the money that counts. Bill Gates has given $100 billion in aids of various kinds. That's almost a third of South Africa's gross national product. But what scares me about this priest is how can a man, he's going to go up to Jerusalem and take out his beloved scrolls of the Torah, and he's going to read and study them, as Tevye said, 7 hours every day, and that would be the sweetest thing of all. How can someone who is so close to the scriptures have it touch his personality and character so little? And that very Torah has verses like this, Leviticus 25, "If any one of your fellow Israelites become poor and are unable to support themselves, help them so they can continue to live among you." Deuteronomy, "There will never cease to be poor among you. Therefore I command you, be wide open in your hands to the poor and the needy." And of course the greatest of all, Leviticus 19, "Love your neighbor as yourself." And yet some people seem to be able to live very close to the things of God, and yet it doesn't seem to touch their personality. Let me tell you a story that really has quite shaped my ministry for the last 40 years. I was in a very good ministers' fraternal. I think every denomination was represented, and we were real brothers and sisters. But one day, one of the pastors arrived, and you could see immediately he was very down, and we said, "What's the problem?" And he said, "It's my 18-year-old daughter. She just told me she's not going to be coming to church anymore. She said, 'Dad, it's nothing to do with you, but it's that so few people in your church seem to live out what they say they believe.'" I find that heartbreaking. And I must say that I have known hundreds of people where the gospel of Christ has very deeply become part of their character and personality. Those are people who keep watch, that in them there's no little element of what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine.
Unending love, amazing grace.